So I'm just going to try and begin to explain why sentential logic isn't enough. So there are very many arguments that are obviously valid. For example, this all whales are mammals, Moby Dick is a whale, so conclusion, Moby Dick is a mammal. And this is a valid argument, obviously, because it's not possible for these two things to be true, for it to be true that all whales are mammals and true that Moby Dick is a whale, and yet false that Moby Dick is a mammal. So this is obviously a valid argument. And what's more, so long as we substitute in the right way into this argument, it will remain valid. So we can alter, so its validity is a formal property of the argument. So we could replace whales by rabbits. All rabbits are mammals. Moby Dick is a rabbit. So Moby Dick is a mammal. And the argument remains valid. And equally, we could replace mammal with, say, insect, and we'd still have a valid argument. All rabbits are insects, Moby Dick is a rabbit, so Moby Dick is an insect. And equally, of course, we could replace Moby Dick with some other name, Mother Teresa. I don't remember whether she has an H or not. So all rabbits are insects, Mother Teresa is a rabbit, so Mother Teresa is an insect. So it's quite clear that the validity of this form of argument it's a formal property of the argument. It's not to do with the semantic content. We can swap rabbits for whales, we can swap insects for mammals, we can swap Mother Teresa for Moby Dick. Doesn't make any difference. The argument remains valid. And yet, if we were to translate this argument into the language of sentential logic, what could we do? As far as sentential logic is concerned, this is an atomic sentence. It's not a negation, there's no not in it. It's not a conjunction, it's not a disjunction. It's not a conditional, apparently. It's not a biconditional. So the only thing we could represent it by is some letter, R. And the same for the second premise. You know, Mother Teresa is a rabbit, Moby Dick is a whale, doesn't matter what argument we're talking about. Again, just an atomic sentence. And the same for the conclusion. So here we use R to represent all rabbits are insects, M to represent Mother Teresa as a rabbit, and I to represent Mother Teresa as an insect. All three are atomic sentences. And obviously there's an assignment of truth values on which the premises are true and the conclusion false. You know, there are three atomic sentences here, so the table will have 8 lines. And on one of those lines, R will be true, M will be true, and I will be false, and that will be an invalidating assignment of truth values. So this argument, which is obviously a valid argument, it's not valid in sentential logic. And this is why first order logic has to include something besides sentential logic. And obviously what's going on in this argument, it's crucial that this word, rabbit, be the same as this one. If it said all rabbits are insects, Mother Teresa is a mouse, so Mother Teresa is an insect, that wouldn't be a valid argument. So those terms have to be the same, and obviously the same is true for this. We must have insect or the same. And then also for this. This name has to be the same. And every argument that has this form will be valid. And clearly here, what is doing the logical work is this guy, all. All is a logical operator, but it's not a true functional logical operator, or at least apparently not. What is it? Well, that's actually something that there's quite a lot of disagreement about. But at any rate, it's clear that we need to supplement sentential logic in some way in order to be able to account for, to demonstrate the validity of these kinds of arguments that quite clearly are valid, but on the other hand, in sentential logic, are invalid. And so this is why sentential logic is not by itself adequate, and we need to supplement it, and that's the point of predicate logic.